What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Stand, where I am giving you a live insight, or not necessarily a live insight, but an insight here on one of my home league drafts that we are drafting today. Actually, it is a 12 team. Got the 12 pick today, and man, this is a scary pick here because there are not a lot of wide receivers we necessarily love at this point. There are some running backs that we essentially would have to spend up on and essentially see who falls to us at the 3-4 turn. Running back wise here, I feel just kind of doing some drafts that may be the best route. There are still some exciting wide receivers later on in the draft we can still try and get. Obviously, our targets, just off the top of my head, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, Tank Dell, Rashee Rice, should he fall to us there in the 5th and 6th turn pick, was actually doing another draft, my Mega Bowl draft earlier, and we ended up drafting the 12th spot there as well, and Rashee Rice ended up going right there in the middle of the 5th, which I was pretty bummed about as he was main target essentially on our squad. So we will see who falls here. Just looking at the draft that's gone. CeeDee Lamb first. Let me tell you, if I had the first round pick, that would be mine as well. And I would hope that the running backs I'm targeting would fall to me at the 2-3 turns where I can go CeeDee Lamb. And if it would be like Isaiah Pacheco and either Derrick Henry, Achane, or Kyron Williams. That would be the ideal start to a 101 pick for at least me. If in this draft, if there was only one of those guys available, I would go CeeDee Lamb, preferably Isaiah Pacheco, and then maybe on that third turn do like Cooper Kupp, as I think he'll have a great bounce back year. Call me crazy for thinking that he's going to do it, but with the injury to Puka Nacua, I believe that it's still Cooper Kupp's wide receiver room. Just last year, whenever, obviously, I think they both had or were both in the game. I still think Cooper Kupp was the one who ended up outshining and outscoring Puka. So that is really just where I'm going more Cooper Kupp on that side. Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown. Where are our next pick? And this one is going to be tough because I do have a lot of Isaiah Pacheco shares. I don't have any Saquon Barkley shares. And if we're looking at just stout running backs at their position, Jahmyr Gibbs does have, obviously, just David Montgomery there. He does have the lingering injury. So to me, these picks right here, especially just looking wide receiver wise, I mean, Drake London's going to be great, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, essentially hoping down here that Malik Neighbors is available and Rashee Rice. Those are the two that I would be targeting because this is tough. But I think because of the fact that we do have a lot of Isaiah Pacheco shares, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to draft Derrick Henry. And I think I'm going to draft Saquon Barkley. I think I'm going to go Saquon Barkley. Man, this is tough. I literally, in my Mega Bowl draft, I went Derrick Henry and Isaiah Pacheco, and Saquon Barkley was there. And I feel like I want to go ahead and probably play both sides this year. I'm going to go Saquon Barkley. I got two workhorse running backs. Don't have to worry about any possible Isaiah Pacheco injury history. I do have some Saquon Barkley history to worry about. And Derrick Henry, Of course, getting older, but a lot of people like myself believes he at least has one more year in him. So we're going to go ahead and just see how this falls. With us going running back, we're still essentially targeting Zamir White in that 5-6 turn. Would love to have him as one of our flexes here, just to be that other workhorse back. They call him Zeus. He's got the frame. Not worried about Alexander Madison. Antonio Pierce, they will run up the score. Literally run up the score. Because if they're winning, they're going to run. And they're still going to try and essentially score. So I'm still a fan of Zamir White. Man, this one is a little gut wrenching because I have been a believer in Isaiah Pacheco. And so not having him, not choosing him on this roster, you're going to show a little bit, some of my vulnerability will probably show because, of course, great player on a great offense. We're 16 picks away from our next selection, and just looking down here, like I said, we're kind of towards the bottom. Cooper Kupp goes right there. Wow, in the middle of the second. Isaiah Pacheco right after. Great players. Great players. Chris Olave after that. 13 picks away. Just looking here, it's some chance Travis Kelce is available. I may take a chance on him. I want someone special of that caliber in the tight end position. People are talking about his production may slow or what. He's still going to be getting touchdowns. Taylor Swift is still going to the games, and he is still going to shine in those games. If he's not there, which a good chance he is not be, my main target here is Malik Neighbors. Does look like Rashee Rice would be in there as well. Just looking, Terry McLaurin may possibly fall. That would be our hope for our extra flex spot that we can essentially pair with Zamir White. If that 5-6 turn was Terry McLaurin and Zamir White, or possibly Tank Dell and Zamir White. Calvin Ridley we will have a chance on. Raheem Mostert will have a chance possibly on. And so this is a good question. Could go obviously the heavy wide receiver at this 3-4, and then at the 5-6 go back to the running back well. This one's going to be tough. How we're going to try and navigate essentially this draft, this roster. Pick 3 still have a shot. There goes Jalen Hurts. DJ Moore got paid, but he's involved in that three-headed monster. A lot of people like Roma Dunze. A lot of people like Keenan Allen. That's the thing. It's like, do I want to essentially invest in him? My main hope is that Malik Neighbors can fall to us. Did some mocks. Actually, in the Megalo Bowl, I think I was... Actually, no, I think Malik Neighbors possibly... I think he fell to us. That's who we ended up rocking with. In a couple mocks that I at least tried to do here, he did not go. So that was a little nerve-wracking. Man, kind of looking up here in the queue, would love Malik Neighbors, would love Rashee Rice. Essentially would love both of those as a wide receiver 2 and 3 instead of a 1 and 2. But that is essentially the risk you are going about when you do running back, running back. Travis Kelce went at the 30th spot. Debo Samuel right there before. We're 4 picks away. Sam Laporta may possibly be there if we really want a shot at a high caliber tight end. Patrick Mahomes goes right there. Man, Sam Laporta is interesting if he falls to us. To have like Sam Laporta, Malik Neighbors. I feel with this build though, like even though we would be going someone as high caliber as a Sam Laporta, we would be shooting ourselves in the foot. James Cook goes there. We would be shooting ourselves in the foot because we do have 3 wide receiver sets. So we do know that we really want Malik Neighbors to be one of these guys. If not, Rashee Rice maybe. And may go like Rashee Rice, Terry McLaurin. There goes DJ Moore. We're one more away. Man, this one would be tough. We've actually got a lot of Lamar Jackson. Brandon Ayuk goes. Man, we have some great value here to choose from. Sam Laporta made it to us to the 3-4. Malik Neighbors for sure is one of our picks, and it's just which route do we want to go? Nico Collins is there. Just a lot of people. I just don't believe really in Nico. Man. So I do know that Malik Neighbors is going to be one of these picks to get that wide receiver. And then I just don't know if I should just take a chance on Nico Collins. Just going to go ahead and make sure I get Malik Neighbors. Man. I may go Nico Collins. Like the value, even though a lot of people think like a 4th round pick for Nico Collins or 4th round pick for Sam Laporta or Rashee Rice. This is tough. I think I'm going to bypass and just go Sam Laporta. We get essentially the best tight end who is coached by a tight end. Man. I think we're going to tilt. I'm going to go Nico. You know, we need wide receivers essentially to fill out this draft. And you know what? If Tank Dell is still available there, I'm still possibly going to take Tank Dell. Houston Texans has a great passing offense. Everyone loves CJ Stroud. They love Nico Collins. They love Stephon Diggs. They love Tank Dell. We have Nico Collins. Obviously, would it be ideal to have Tank Dell and Nico both there as a 2 and 3? Probably not. Literally, my other pick there was just going the top position in Sam Laporta, and we just would have had Malik Neighbors as our wide receiver champion and essentially fill out some of these wide receivers. I just feel like as long as we can possibly leave with Jake Ferguson, we'll be okay. And I'm going to look here in the next round just to possibly see who to go. And Honestly, I feel like had I gone Laporta there, what that would have eliminated was the fact that just every pick we go forward, we now know it's simply going to be a running back or a wide receiver. Unless there's immense quarterback value that falls, and say like a Kyler Murray is there, then essentially we would have Kyler Murray and Sam Laporta as our QB tight end combo, and that would be amazing. So I'll gladly admit that I feel like I probably tilted there on Nico Collins. That's purely based on everyone else's ADP instead of on mine, and not necessarily trusting the roster construction of these other wide receivers that I can find. Hopefully fill out some of these better rookie wide receivers that we are targeting: Keon Coleman, Brian Thomas Jr. And like I said, had you know instead of the Houston wide receiver. I mean, it's not even necessarily a guarantee that Tank Dell will essentially be there. But if we had Malik Neighbors and Tank Dell instead of Malik Neighbors and Nico Collins, that would also be okay. So that is where we missed out on the value of Sam Laporta. And of course, right there, Lamar Jackson actually goes as well. He was another one who we have gotten in the fourth. It was just really hard to pass on him. Last year, he put up an MVP season. And now he is in the second year in the offense that gave him that MVP season. Upgraded his running back in Derrick Henry. You have Zay Flowers coming back for year two. Mark Andrews is still the top 10 or is still a top 5 tight end when he is on the field. Isaiah Likely comes in and can completely back up should Mark Andrews miss any time. So Lamar Jackson honestly had been a great pick because he has that rushing upside, and with Derrick Henry as well. Honestly, if I'm looking at a stack, a lot of people do quarterback and the wide receiver. The only stack I would think about here in Baltimore instead of Lamar Jackson, say like Zay Flowers, I would much rather do Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, or Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews as that stack versus say Zay Flowers. Rashad Bateman is a target later on, especially should we get Lamar Jackson, as he is that possible two. As you can see, Mark Andrews actually goes right there. Rashee Rice, a couple picks before, actually right after Lamar Jackson, which we are here in the fourth. So Rashee Rice, ADP obviously rising, someone that considered taking, right there with Malik Neighbors, Rashee Rice. Uh, but with Nico Collins there, like I said, not necessarily that high on my ADP, but with the value kind of falling a little that late, that's when I'll go ahead and take a chance. Trey McBride actually goes there next, which means that the only top tight end available pretty much is Dalton Kincaid. And I believe Kyle Pitts came up with a hamstring injury today. After Trey McBride was C.J. Stroud, Michael Pittman Jr., Stephon Diggs. After that, there's the second Texans wide receiver. We are still 9 picks away from us. James Conner actually goes right there. Oh, wow. Kamara could honestly provide some value. Kendre Miller's hurt. Amari Cooper. 7 picks until us. This is a real life draft, so some of these times will go all the way to the wire. This will more than likely be a longer video. George Pickens right there, who is an alpha of a wide receiver. Honestly, in a lot of our preseason best ball drafts, he had been essentially our like wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, and we were comfortable about it. However, after looking at this preseason, man, the quarterback room has just a lot of question marks, which makes him obviously a risky pick. Arthur Smith is the architect of that offense. Drake London, we had a lot of hope for him, although he never really panned out as well as we had hoped. That's that same offense. And right now, it just looks like Steelers, at least to me, fantasy wise, trying to stay away. Other ones also trying to stay away for is Minnesota. That essentially is a team. However, in one of our real Yahoo drafts, we actually ended up taking Justin Jefferson there purely as the best value player. We know he has his quarterback questions. A.J. Brown was there. He has normally been that pick over Justin Jefferson. However, in literally every other draft I do have A.J. Brown that pick. That was the one I did have Justin Jefferson. And honestly, I want to have the best football player essentially on my team. And he is the best wide receiver hands down. Yes, he does have the quarterback question marks. So does Malik Neighbors with Daniel Jones. You know, that is the risk we are taking essentially there. So it's a risk. But that's the one we're doing in that draft. Here at this next pick, this is actually pretty exciting. Oh, wow, Kyler Murray. We may have a shot at Kyler Murray. The only problem is if we do that, we give out on a lot of value of some of these other guys. So, say for example, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Tank Dell is there. Should we want to go back to the Kyler Murray actually goes right before us, Zay Flowers as well. Honestly, if I'm looking here, there is some great options. I want Zamir White on our team. I want him filling out one of these wide receiver roles. After that, just looking, it's either Terry McLaurin or Tank Dell. Honestly, could go Raheem Mostert as well and essentially come down here in the wide receivers and pick out a lot of these ones that, man, that's just not a lot of value. So for sure, we'll be taking Zamir White. And then this is the other question of, do I want elite tight end in Dalton Kincaid and then leave a wide receiver spot open? Man, who is going to have a better year, Tank Dell or Terry McLaurin? Or Calvin Ridley? Man. I'm literally thinking either Tank Dell or Dalton Kincaid. Going Dalton Kincaid. So that one another tough pick. I missed out on Dalton Kincaid on a lot of drafts. There, right there, honestly, like I said, the pick would have been Terry McLaurin or Tank Dell. In the mix, Raheem Mostert, Calvin Ridley. Looking at here, Chris Godwin in there as well. We do have some quarterbacks. That is the problem, or quarterback that we will be needing to target. Jaden Daniels right now is our pick here. Don't want to necessarily wait too long on him. should he go, hopefully a Dak Prescott will possibly be there. Jordan Love also in consideration. So that one is stuff like that. Raheem Mostert did go after our pick. So honestly, Zamir White, Raheem Mostert would have been great. Zamir White, Terry McLaurin, Tank Dell would have been great. Man, that would have been a lot of Week 14 uh, buys, essentially, that I would have to shore up. So Terry McLaurin, let me see. After Raheem Mostert, Aaron Jones goes, Terry McLaurin, then George Kittle. We are 18 picks away. We are going to miss out on a lot of guys, a lot of value. In this next pick, I think Jane Daniels needs to be one of them, just to make sure I get the quarterback that I want, as some of these quarterbacks are going to start going off the board. If possible wide receiver somehow falls to us, we'll go ahead and take him, take the value. Brian Robinson Jr. is another running back that is in consideration that I do like, that is high on my board. Even though Austin Eckler is there, I believe he is the 1A to the 1B and will get those end zone touchdowns. So I have him queued up. Courtland Sutton is a wide receiver one. Don't really want anyone on the Denver offense as well. Devin Singletary, though, 3-down back. Chase Brown starting off as the backup running back, I believe, and also listed as the kick returner. So when we get there, Zach Moss, essentially. I mean, yeah, it definitely could be Zach Moss to start the year. There goes Calvin Ridley, missing out on a lot of the wide receivers there. So obviously probably shouldn't have gotten Dalton Kincaid there. Should have just went running back and wide receiver and essentially fill that position out. Here in Yahoo could have did the hack of Taysom Hill. Zach Ertz, we know, will be a tight end one later. Cole Kmet has been falling. Jake Ferguson will be great. That should later on in the depth. I mean, if we have some positions locked up and Ferguson is still there, I'll gladly take Ferguson, pair him with Dalton Kane, just have the best tight end, one of the best tight end rooms here. So we are definitely playing this one a little scary, as we don't have that third wide receiver. We do have another flex spot we essentially have to fill out. And the problem is we have waited on quarterback and kind of, I don't want to say necessarily in desperate need, but as you can see here in this value, the ones we are kind of looking at in Dak Prescott, Jane Daniels, those are in the tier guys who could be gone this round. Some guys could already have their quarterbacks and just not need them. Looking here, Brock Purdy can maybe be it for us. Caleb Williams, though, kind of my last resort. He was the number one pick for a reason, and he has three great wide receivers that he is going to be able to throw to versus Jaden Daniels, who only technically has Terry McLaurin. And after that, maybe De'Ami Brown, maybe Luke McCaffrey, Zach Ertz, as the primary catcher. So Caleb Williams actually could be the better quarterback pick there. And, of course, was QB1. Why shouldn't he be? So if I am really looking at guys here at this next spot, this next turn, it is saying that Keon Coleman would essentially be there at this next one. I'm not 100% too sure. However, I would love to at least be able to have some form of Brian Thomas Jr. If I can. So I think I may possibly sleep on quarterback. Because if not, Jared Goff is still there, who is a safety blanket. Trevor Lawrence could honestly take a step in a boost, especially with us liking Brian Thomas Jr. He has had potential in the past to put on those big games, and obviously last year was lacking a little bit. However, he still has the potential. We like Christian Kirk. We like Brian Thomas Jr. We like Evan Ingram from that PPR standpoint. So why not like Trevor Lawrence? Evan Ingram goes there. Chris Godwin before. We are 4 picks away from our next selection. Man, there are like 4 or 5 guys here that I love. Man, are we really waiting? We really will be waiting until round 9, 10, possibly get our quarterback. Because there's a lot of value here. Oh, Brian Robinson Jr. goes right there. Man, that was really one of our top selections. That's honestly who I wanted there, just to shore up our running back position, get us that 4th one. Oh, look at that. Jaden Daniels right there at the 81st. We miss out on Jaden Daniels. That is a bummer. So, dang. Dak Prescott's still there. Actually, Dak Prescott not there. So a lot of people have gone. That's okay with us because now that means that we can focus on some of these other positions that we want to get and hope just at the next turn. Caleb Williams still possibly there. Jared Goff possibly there. We'll essentially settle for one of these. I think honestly, Will Levis though could possibly uh, shine out as well and just surprise a lot of people. So right here, even though Christian Kirk is available, Brian Thomas Jr. is the one I kind of want. Here goes Jaden Reed. See, I really want Xavier Worthy though too. I just want one. I want one of those guys. Jerome Ford. Why is Roma Dunze so? Why do people like Roma Dunze so much? Man, this is tough right here because there's a lot of great value. You know, Brian Thomas Jr. is there, the PPR monster, and Christian Kirk, though. However, Xavier Worthy is honestly a rookie that I like as well, and I want on my squad. So I'm gonna get Xavier Worthy. That's a rookie we're taking a chance on, quarterback wise or running back wise. And honestly, here this one's tough. I mean, I'm looking at the value. Brian Thomas Jr. is there. Christian Kirk's still there. It's honestly, which one of those two do you believe will be the main guy? Man, that's tough. Devin Singletary there, Jake Ferguson, Jerome Ford as another running back. Man, this one's tough. May go Christian Kirk over Brian Thomas, even though he's dealing with. Oh, pick doesn't belong to me. Who did it? It went? Oh no, it went Ferguson. Oh, that's who I had queued up. You know what? I'll take it. There you go. There's right there, guys. Here on this video, in the essentially in the 8th round, had a goof, had a gaff. Ended up waiting too long, auto picking. So the one thing I'm excited there is we did get essentially, I would say, this number 2 pass catcher in Dallas. We have arguably the best tight end group. And honestly, this is when you're in a build like this, you may end up starting Jake Ferguson and Dalton Kincaid both in your lineup. So, still missing our quarterback. Our wide receivers are still highly lacking, guys. Obviously, wanted to go heavy running back here and see how this started and how this went. Lucky enough to have Malik Neighbors and Nico Collins. A lot of people can go ahead and say that could be the win. Brian Thomas Jr. Does go right there, which is a bummer. I mean, we honestly, though, had the choice between him or Christian Kirk. Decided maybe just on the value, go Christian Kirk just being that PPR monster. However, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be that deep threat. Was it 4.3, 4.3 speed? This guy can get it done. We are 19, 20 picks away. I'm going to go ahead and just see here, obviously who it is to choose because with that gaff, we did miss out on a lot of guys. Obviously, Christian Kirk, who just went there. Devin Singletary on the board. Jerome Ford on the board. Roma Dunze on the board. A lot just goes right there. Jackson Smith and Jigba as well. Chase Brown, who technically right now is listed as the RB2. We'll see, of course, if it stays that way. Going to queue up Blake Corum, Trey Benson. I like those guys as well. Chuba Hubbard is a starter. So hopefully in this next bunch, we can possibly get Keon Coleman. Do need a solid wide receiver. He does have a chance to be that one. And as I'm here looking just at this squad, we really need to get him on. And it stinks that we did get Ferguson over another wide receiver because should we have Keon Coleman there? Essentially on our bench. I mean, he'll still be on our bench, but I would much rather have because I feel like we're gonna have to go quarterback here. Otherwise, we really will miss out on possible great value. If I had to take a shot at another wide receiver, it actually would be a toss-up between Joshua Palmer and Lad McConkey. That is if we were going essentially like two wide receivers. Gonna be sure and queue up Taysom Hill just in case don't lose track on him. Jalen Wright is also a running back that has been somewhat rising on my board just because I like Raheem Mostert. Devon Achane, of course, could be special. Both of them, though, injury prone. And something you have to take into consideration. Chase Brown, Devin Singletary, Christian Watson, Cortland Sutton. $12 picks away. Looking around here, may have a shot at Jerome Ford. If Jerome Ford is not there, man, if I had to choose two, I don't know why. So, if I had to choose two, it would be those two: Jerome Ford, Keon Coleman. After Chase Brown, Jackson Smith and Jigba went at 96. DeAndre Hopkins at 97. Still 10 picks away from us. Brock Purdy, Jameson Williams. Seven picks until us. Jordan Addison after that. Austin Eckler. Tajay Spears. I guess JT was the only one that went double QB. Jerome Ford right there. That's a bummer. Jonathan Brooks would have been great on the pup. Which means I'm sure Richard is going to be, or JT will be targeting Chuba, especially with his running backs only being Brian Robinson Jr. and Jonathan Brooks. He's going to want to target. At least that's what I would do. Chuba Hubbard proved very, very well last year. Gus Edwards after that. Let's go back to the players. Khalil Shakir is available. To me, Keon Coleman or Chuba Hubbard would be good. Keon Coleman, I guess I could technically go like Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, and then essentially just get the true one. I do miss out on, say, one of these good running backs of Corum, Trey Benson, who will eventually take over. Chuba Hubbard as well. Chuba Hubbard goes right there. We actually miss out on Chuba. One pick away. Khalil Shakir goes there. It is our turn. Man, looking at this team, we do need a quarterback. We've essentially been sleeping on that position. 6 bench available. I feel like we need wide receivers. So Keon Coleman's going to be one there. Man. I mean, Adam Thielen is someone we can get later. It's either Lad McConkey or essentially wait on those running backs. Lad McConkey. We have McConkey set up here, but I want one of these running backs. You know what? I also don't want to lose out on Caleb Williams. I'm going to take Caleb Williams right there. Obviously, we need to fill out some of these bench spots. There was some running backs in consideration that kind of liked, and just a couple of the wide receivers. I'll tell you right now who we had queued up. Lad McConkey was someone there in consideration. Joshua Palmer as well. I mean, do I really want the passing option in that offense? I'm not 100% too sure. Blake Corum, Trey Benson, also, those were honestly the top 4 guys in consideration. I did have Romeo Doubs queued up, but to me, those 4 were the ones essentially that I would choose from. And look at that, Joshua Palmer actually goes right after us. So we are anchoring our team here on the top quarterback prospect in Caleb Williams, the Hard Knocks star, team captain, though, I believe. So that says a lot that the rookie can step in and take on that role. He does have a little bit of that rushing upside. He has three great options that he will be able to throw to in the wide receiver core, along with Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. Caleb Williams, I'm going to go ahead and take a chance right there. It was either that or we slept on that position. Maybe hope that him and or Jared Goff would have possibly fell as well. Just didn't really want to take a chance on Trevor Lawrence or Tua essentially just being the starting quarterback for us. I mean, nothing necessarily wrong with them. It's just Tua's not going to run. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, not as much. But Caleb Williams to me, he is a wild card. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen it yet. We have in preseason a little bit, but we haven't seen it in the regular season. So honestly, looking at this squad, of course we love Jaden Daniels there. I mean, our wide receivers are going to be light. This is why it's also different than a best ball draft. We know that a lot of our squad is going to be, or a lot of our wins and losses are going to be won on the waiver wire. So you're going to see some of the wide receivers, because some of the wide receivers that we choose, there may be some on the waiver wire pickup, or there may be a running back prospect that everyone slept on, essentially that you much rather have on your roster. So I believe in Keon Coleman. He's a rookie I like. I think Xavier Worthy has a shot to take I just want to say some, not necessarily some snaps, but I would say advantage of the fact that Hollywood Brown is missing a little bit. We, of course, would, I know it's not necessarily like it. I mean, you're glad that he's healthy, but, if he would have started on the IR, then he's at least good for the first 4 games, has a little bit more chance to establish that role. Right now, though, he does have that deep play ability for us that we're hoping to just take advantage of. I mean, like 2 catches for over 40 plus yards type of thing. He provides that upside with Patrick Mahomes throwing to him. He has that speed. We are taking a chance on Nico Collins. There's some guys here that we don't have a lot of stock in, especially in our redraft leagues, and there are a couple that we do. So Malik Neighbors has been one that we've been trying to target. Of course, we got him here. Obviously, Derrick Henry's right here, but Isaiah Pacheco has essentially been that one. And Zamir White and Keon Coleman. So we essentially got those 3 on our squad for this roster. There are 17 rounds, 17 rounds. I gotta confirm. 17 rounds. So to have 3 of the ones that we've kind of heavily targeting, we'll of course see how this one goes. But what I love about fantasy, it allows you to take control of a lot of different players. I mean, just to see. I mean, these are guys that we all have had some questions on, but also some hype on. Derrick Henry, we love the situation. Saquon Barkley is a workhorse, with that improved offense in Philadelphia. We'll see how he does along the goal line, but Saquon Barkley, great there. Malik Neighbors is going to get peppered with targets. Yes, he's tied to Daniel Jones. Brian Daboll, though, is taking over that play calling, so the thing that won him the job in New York, he's going to be taken, and I think he's going to be dumb to not just put it in Malik Neighbors' hands, his playmaker. Nico Collins, this is the main question mark of whether or not it's going to be him, whether or not it's going to be Tank Dell, or it's going to be Stephon Diggs. We actually had a shot at it for our third wide receiver point to either get Terry McLaurin or Tank Dell. Decided to essentially pass, and I think we went Dalton Kincaid there instead, which hindsight looking in, much rather probably just have one of those guys at that wide receiver 3 and still have Xavier Worthy in either one of these flex spots or on the bench. Ended up accidentally auto-picking Jake Ferguson, or just knowing that had we gone him, we still would have ended up with Jake Ferguson, who would be great as the Cowboys tight end and arguably the second target there in Dallas. So we're still shaping out this squad. We have 5 more bench spots to essentially fill out. We'll more than likely get one more quarterback if Jared Goff is available. Look, Taysom Hill actually goes right there. Someone's going to try and do the cheat code. If Jared Goff is still there, may take him, possibly Rico Dowdle as well. Those are the 2 that are essentially right now that are speaking the most to me. Jalen Wright going to play the ADP game and hope that he essentially can fall to us at that next pick along with Adam Thielen. We'll queue up though Rashad Bateman and also Darnell Mooney. Wide receiver twos in their offense could possibly be, I don't know, just a surprise this season, especially with Kirk Cousins throwing it to Darnell Mooney now. And then, of course, whatchamacallit there in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, he does have to fight with Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, but he still could provide a role should anything happen to them, say along with Isaiah Likely, I believe. So, all right, this team is shaping out, and I'm curious to see how it's going to get. More than likely, we'll get a very low grade just because I feel we are highly light on on our wide receivers, even then in our quarterback position, waiting all the way on Caleb Williams. If we're able to get Jared Goff, I will feel a little bit more comfortable. Like I said, the main two right now, Rico Dowdle actually goes right there. He was one of those two. So just hoping to get one of Jared Goff. And, if anything, may take the chance on Jalen Wright a little bit early. Adonai Mitchell goes right there. We are one away. Sheila McLaughlin available. Jalen Polk as well. Ty Chandler. And essentially just hope down here to fill out, two more spots, a combination of Jordan Mason and possibly Adam Thielen or Darnell Mooney, one of those. Marshawn Lynch, is he? Zach Charbonnet goes right there. I mean, Marshawn Lloyd, not Lynch. Marshawn Lloyd is a interesting prospect to me. One more pick until us. Like I said, if I had a preference, it would be Jared Goff and probably Jalen Wright because Jaleel McLaughlin does go right there. All right, we'll go ahead. Jared Goff is the pick. Get that double up. And then running back, Jalen Wright. Those were our two picks there at the start of round 12. So, Jared Goff, Jalen Wright, purely picking some good backups at this point. We do have a question mark with Caleb Williams. However, Jared Goff, I think, will be a safe quarterback this year. I am a firm believer in Amon-Ra St. Brown, would draft him if I had the opportunity or chance to. Essentially, my top three are CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, and Amon-Ra St. Brown after that. And possibly with his hand injury, maybe put Amon-Ra St. Brown, right before Tyreek Hill. But he, to me, is one of the safest wide receivers. He is a dog and an alpha at that position, and he wants to be great. He knows he's great, and he plays on the field like he's trying to prove that every single time. Does feel like he has that chip on the shoulder with him being, selected so late during his draft with all those wide receivers ahead of him. So just that dog mentality, it's like special and scary to see. Just it in action. So Marshawn Lloyd, look at that, actually goes there to Richard's team. I wonder if he is the Josh Jacobs owner. He is not. But just to have him on the bench, look at that too. Not carrying a injury designation, at least on this. I don't know if that's just because Yeah, okay, it just has to because I know Brock Bowers. I think has had a little injury. It's got the Arizona stack right here. Recap some of these guys after Marshawn Lloyd, Dontavian Wicks, another Packer, Jalen Polk, Antonio Gibson. We are 16 picks away from us. Gabe Davis actually goes right there. Still 15 picks. Like I said, right now, if we had the choice between the two, Adam Thielen and Jordan Mason would be great. Adam Thielen right now is a starter opposite of Deontay Johnson there in Carolina. And Jordan Mason right now is the number one running back to hold behind Christian McCaffrey, who is technically still dealing with that calf injury. I know a lot of people talk about him returning to practice. It's just calf injuries. Those things linger. Calf injuries are turned into either hamstring injuries or Achilles injuries, and it just would be a safe option to have that position and have that running back essentially shored up. So that is who we are hoping can fall to us. Although I am looking right there as I say that right before Demario Douglas, Jordan Mason does go to that 7 screaming. Let me see. Let me see if he's not the Christian McCaffrey owner. So he just wanted that number one running back. This is a guy who obviously better get Braylon Allen then. You know, Brees Hall does have his injury concerns as well, and Braylon Allen will be a hoss. Kind of like the squad. Look at that: Brees Hall, Jalen Hurts, wide receiver wise, Chris Olave. A lot of people a lot higher on than him. A lot higher on him than me. Tank Dell is a wide receiver 2. Wish we could have possibly got him as our wide receiver 3. Spin up for Mark Andrews. Najee and Devin Singletary, not too bad. J.K. Dobbins can be special. Some decent squads. Actually, go back here. I'll see who. So I guess I could have just got them. That would have been something. Looking in here in round 13. At the start of it, what that 12-13 turn, Khalil Herbert and Ty Chandler, both running backs. Tyler Algier, after that, to one expert, who is the Christian McCaffrey owner. So yeah, you got Jordan Mason right before him because he knew. And this Mike's Grand team looks pretty. Just want to go over that. Bijan, and then wide receivers Cooper, Jalen Waddle, Rashee Rice, George Pickens. Jordan Love, who will more than likely throw for over 4,000 yards this year, came back for Tony Pollard, Austin Eckler. Oof. Just to have Tony Pollard, though, this says your RB2 is just scary. But when you have Bijan, I mean, not a bad pick. I just, right here, I mean, yeah, probably wouldn't have gone Austin Eckler. I more than likely would have gone Jerome Ford. To each their own. Or heck, even Chuba Hubbard, as you need, those starters, and those guys are the starters. We are coming back to where we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more picks in this draft. We will be taking 2 more of our selections here shortly in about 5 picks. We'll see who falls here. Still waiting on a defense and a kicker. Always going to be the last 2 things we'll be focusing on. I mean, Houston Texans, to me, that's who I've kind of been getting towards the end. They open up against Indianapolis, and Anthony Richardson just hasn't looked that great to me, especially during the preseason. And I just feel like having a defensive minded coach like D'Amico Ryans, you're gonna be able to stop that offense. You know, who has a quarterback with possibly that limited throwing ability. So to them, me, Houston is a great one to possibly have there to have a decent opening of the year and still be a good all around defense. If you're just going to punt that position entirely and essentially wait and just pick up someone and then end up dropping someone, Cincinnati plays New England. And that to me seems like a lock, especially in like DFS if you know you're looking for teams to play. Bengals against New England could definitely be something to go after. Looking here to just gonna go recap a little bit, especially after the Jordan Mason, Demario Douglas, Khalil Herbert, Ty Chandler, Goddard, Schultz, Freiermuth. A lot of those tight ends. Brandon Aubrey goes, Michael Wilson. We're actually next pick until us, so I'm gonna go back to these players and see who's queued up. Adam Thielen is there. Darnell Mooney. Those are the two essentially that I do have queued. I could go ahead and grab Braylon Allen, and he would be that sort of running back hold. Should anything happen, you know, to Brees Hall, because Braylon Allen would essentially be a league winner. I think I may do that. Like even though Darnell Mooney, if we may get a shot at both of them. Oh, he goes Braylon Allen right there before. That is crazy. Man, talked about getting sniped, especially just later on here. Well, we do know Adam Thielen is going to be one. Rashad Bateman possibly in consideration. Darnell Mooney right there though. Uh, I think that's who we're gonna go. I know for sure Adam Thielen will be the main pick that we will be getting right here. I'm just gonna go ahead and look at the running backs. Ray Davis, Tyrone Tracy, maybe could be a good hold. Man, I honestly think Tyrone Tracy would be the one I would want to hold. Ray Davis is there too, although I just believe in James Cook a little bit more. Ooh, this one's going to be tough. This one's going to be tough. I think I have Tyrone Tracy just kind of like as a running back to hold. Hmm. You know, I do need wide receiver upside though. We drafted our running backs for a reason. We already have our backup there in Zamir White. I'm going to go with Darnell Mooney right here as the wide receiver too. We do need that wide receiver help. We slept on that position. Hopefully, having a late starter like Adam Thielen, even though he is so old, and just to see what production Darnell Mooney could have as the wide receiver too there, with Kirk Cousins chucking it to him. Uh, if Tyrone Tracy is there, we'll go ahead gladly get him on our team. If he is not, another pick I am possibly thinking about is Alexander Madison. I could go more and maybe just pick. Honestly, may pick the starting running back more for either Derrick Henry or Saquon, with one of them possibly just being a little bit more injury prone. The question is in Philadelphia, is it Kenneth Gainwell essentially being the backup there? And in Baltimore, I believe Justice Hill is the backup there. I'll go ahead and just check real quick as I'm kind of scrolling down. See, Will Shipley also there and in consideration as well. Jalen Tolbert goes after us, picking Darnell Mooney. We are 21 picks away. 21 picks away from essentially our last two pick. Well, we got three picks left, but our last two will be our last bench spot, and more than likely, uh, I don't know, maybe the defense or so, just to grab, or the kicker, just to see which one is available. Rashad Bateman. I'm going to go ahead. I'm actually going to unstar Rashad Bateman here, and I'm going to leave these three running backs as my top queued. Maybe throw in Ray Davis should he fall. Kenneth Gainwell. Samaje Perine. Look at that. Goes right there to Richard's team. I'm actually going to check out Richard's team, and he is not the Isaiah Pacheco owner, so he simply is just grabbing that purely on a PPR value. Maybe he'll be there. Richard's team, though, I like this team. Look at that. Jaden Daniels, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, and Jameer Gibbs, James Cook. This is a squad and a force to reckon with this year. So, dang, that is a pretty good start, especially with him waiting on quarterback. Brock Bowers, I mean, it just depends if he does develop essentially like Sam Laporta. Ray Davis goes there, Dallas, Cleveland. 16 picks still away from us, but this is actually a strong squad. Look at that. Terry McLaurin as your 3. Jameer Gibbs, the 1. James Cook, who put up 1,500 yards last year, guys. Brian Thomas Jr., going to be special as well. That's a pretty good squad. Looking at his bench, Gus Edwards provides value. Adonai Mitchell, we'll find out this week if he does. Marshawn Lynch, should anything happen, of course, to Josh Jacobs, and then Michael Wilson. We'll see how he does. Sophomore, so could take that jump. Samaje Perine to have some of that PPR value. I like that squad. Richard's team. That's one that definitely gonna have to try and trade with and try to steal some guys off, but with them being starters, it's going to be a little bit harder to do. Juan's expert team. Devontae Adams as the 1, and Christian McCaffrey, Devon A-Chain as that. Trey McBride. Oh, look at that. That's a pretty strong one. We, of course, will see how Stephon Diggs does. Look at that. Houston wide receiver as a wide receiver 2. Same with us. Deontay Johnson there. Great PPR value. Jonte Williams is going to have a role. Actually, just saw some 6 minutes ago that Raiders Brock Bowers will play in Week 1, so that is exciting for everyone that has that drafted him. Hail Mary Jane. Ooh, yeah, this one's pretty good. And see, this is what happens when I don't go Isaiah Pacheco and I decide to go Saquon Barkley instead. Someone else gets him, and this team just looks nice. At least from what I like. Tyreek Hill, Isaiah Pacheco, Calvin Ridley, looks good right there. Josh Allen as well. Man, question marks. Obviously, TJ Hawkinson. He did get Dalton Schultz. Bench spot. I mean, this is someone that we could trade with and trade for, and maybe I don't know if he'll necessarily get rid of Isaiah Pacheco, but maybe he will trade us, Calvin Ridley or so, if we can sweeten the deal. Cause yeah, Hall Mary Jane. Mike's team looks good. I like that. Look at that. Cooper Kupp, Rasheed Rice. Oh, yeah, but it was the running backs that we have the question marks. He is trying. Look at that. George Pickens, Cortland. Those could be very devastating to play against. That's a full squad. Like I said, running back may be the question mark, but with running back means maybe we can try and trade this guy, see how set he is on Rasheed Rice. That's honestly would be the target there. Maybe Cooper Cup if he has a bad game, but don't know how much. Or even George Pickens if we really want to go after an alpha and try and get him. Team of Savages. Look at this: Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans. Look at that double uh, Tampa Bay wide receiver. We almost did that with Houston. It's got Travis Kelsey, some question marks. So it just all depends on who gets to or who filled out, their kind of flex spots a little bit better, or like with some guys. So Keenan Allen's going to be a force. Jerome Ford right there, would love to have him. But even then, you can probably put Blake Corum. He'll provide value. Jalen Polk as well. JT's best team, Jamar Chase, Puka. That's nice. Brian Robinson Jr., Jonathan Brooks. Some question marks. He did get Rico Dowdle, so that honestly could be his saving grace should Rico actually break out, as everyone is hoping and possibly talking about him doing. So that could be his saving grace for this team. Richard's Rat team, like I said, is kind of the best build that I like as well. Tight end wise with Brock Bowers, I mean, may have to get someone else, but just try and get, Zach Ertz. Andrew's team, he's the one who got Sam Laporta. Not bad. He's got Trey Benson, Chuba Hubbard, some guys we're kind of looking at. Drake London, Garrett Wilson, so he went wide receiver to bat. Dak Prescott after that. Trey's optimal team, look at this. He's got the Arizona stack, so he has been sleeping on tight end. Would more than likely have to get that here. But Kyler Murray, Marvin, Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Reed, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's a wild card right here. But Raheem Mostert, has someone put Khalil Shakir right now until Hollywood Brown heals. Him or Joshua Palmer, more than likely. See if Jaleel McLaughlin can actually step up. But our team, we have question marks ourselves, but I feel like we got some heavy hitters. The main thing we are missing, I feel, are just those heavy wide receiver hitters. Because to me, Nico Collins, he is the toss-up there. Malik Neighbors, I feel, will get the volumes. However, if we would have had Malik Neighbors as our wide receiver 2 instead of our 1, which I guess here, most people like Nico Collins as well, so it just easily would have been flipped. But we are heavily relying on rookie wide receivers in this draft. Malik Neighbors, rookie wide receiver. Xavier Worthy, rookie wide receiver. Keon Coleman, rookie wide receiver. We do have a couple of veterans we ended up drafting late in Adam Thielen and Darnell Mooney. Adam Thielen, though, listed as a starter. Darnell Mooney, I believe, is a starter as well, opposite Drake London. So those two could provide some value, especially right out the gate. Xavier Legette would probably be a decent one. Look at that. Tyrone Tracy still available as Luke Musgrave. So Tyrone Tracy to me is one that I feel like maybe Justice Hill then. I feel like I'll more than likely have to go, say, like a Justice Hill versus a Tyrone Tracy. I know I just necessarily take him. Tight ends, wide receivers, no one really there. Quarterbacks, no one there. Man. It's going to auto draft Justice Hill here over Tyrone Tracy. Team defenses, like I said, Cincinnati would be a good pickup. Houston to me. Miami, though, I feel like why? I like when they used to be able to show the game log. Kickers, what kickers do we have? We got Young Ho. Gonna go ahead, get Houston defense right here. We'll wait on kicker. See if Cameron Dicker can possibly fall to us. If not, Jake Bates. I believe that's the name, Jake. Hope it's Jake, not Jason. It's Jake Bates. UFL kicker, I believe. From what I heard. But Jake Bates, to me, could provide a lot of value. Justice Hill there was our pick instead of Tyrone Tracy, who honestly could take over there. Should anything happen to Devin, well, we'll take over when anything happens to Devin Singletary, as Devin Singletary is the three down back. So that ultimately means Tyrone Tracy would fit right in there. Alexander Madison was in consideration as well, as we had Zamir White. But with Derrick Henry being there, and essentially the question marks on is Kenneth Gainwell, is it Will Shipley as the backup there in Philadelphia? Justice Hill, I think, to Derrick Henry would be great. We can, of course, also pick up Keontae Mitchell on the waiver wire and just kind of put him on our IR spot to have that as well. And essentially, guys, we lock up the Baltimore backfield. This is a backfield where Gus Edwards, I believe, scored 13 touchdowns behind. So we are essentially hoping and planning that Derrick Henry will get us closer to 20. You know, maybe have that Raheem Mostert just explosive season. So things to at least look forward to during the season. These are some guys, like I said, really have been taking a chance on it. You know, from our normal mock drafts, haven't been going Derrick Henry a lot, Saquon Barkley a lot. Have been going, you know, Malik Neighbors, Zamir White, Keon Coleman. You know, really working to get those guys on our squad. As you're looking at this build, you see Jake Ferguson there. Accidentally auto drafted that pick, had him queued up. Just forgot to move my queue. Time ran out, and honestly, my choice there was between Christian Kirk and either Brian Thomas Jr., as both were still available. And as you can see, should we have had Christian Kirk or Brian Thomas Jr. right here in this flex spot, would feel a whole lot better and happy. But we'll go ahead. We'll take Jake Ferguson. He is the number 2 target option there in Dallas, and will be heavily targeted there in the red zone. So he's a good pick. Where even in this format where you do have 2 flex spots and normally would want your best wide receiver or running back available, when you have those tight ends that are just scoring touchdowns, by all means, guys, you may have to go ahead and plug them both in, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I guess it kind of is. You know, if you don't have a running back or a wide receiver outscoring your one of your tight ends. But that's just something that a position that in one draft, guys, I slept on it, man. I just was out and about. I was doing it mobile. I didn't see that ahead of me. There were 2 managers that still needed tight ends, and the last one's available really in that tier, or just available. Evan Ingram was already gone. Kyle Pitts was already gone. It honestly was George Kittle and Jake Ferguson. I forgot who I ended up going, of course, just thinking that maybe they would come back to me, just not necessarily zooming out and seeing that those 2 teams needed him. Because immediately after I made that pick, Jake Ferguson goes, and then George Kittle right after, which left with essentially no tight end to target. So here we for sure shore up this tight end. They both had different buys, 12 and 7. So no one will be looking for on the waiver wire, even though we do like others like Zach Ertz, Theo Johnson, Greg Dulcich could be something special. So really the biggest gaffe or goof in the draft right there was the Jake Ferguson auto pick. But other than that, looking at some guys, still got Keon Coleman to be able to fill out on the bench. We know he will be one of our starting wide receivers, if not starting here in the flex for sure. Just being that 6'4" frame, being Josh Allen's possible wide receiver 1. If Khalil Shakir would have fell to us in that next, I believe he went right 1 pick before us, we would have got Khalil Shakir and just made sure we took care of that, essentially that wide receiver room. But he didn't, so we had to pivot. And just looking here, I mean, some guy you saw De'Ami Brown. I mean, Luke McCaffrey is listed as one of the starters guys, and I think I dropped. I went out and dropped. I think I had Kirk Cousins as a backup quarterback, just cause, and went to go drop him to pick up Luke McCaffrey. Just because even Matthew Berry believes he has that Tank Dell kind of ability where later on in the season he could possibly be a thing. And right there in Washington, opposite scary Terry McLaurin, there really isn't anyone there. Is it De'Ami Brown? Is it Luke McCaffrey? Is it Zach Ertz? Who's going to be that next target? You don't really know. But the fact that you do have that expert like Matthew Berry stating that Luke McCaffrey could have that Tank Dell possible production or just be that type of valuable player later on the season, he's worth a hold later on here in the draft. So obviously we went Justice Hill there. Maybe in this wide receiver room, when this is done, I think what I'm probably going to do is I'm more than likely going to drop either Justice Hill or right now probably just I'm going to draft a kicker and then end up dropping the kicker to be able to pick up someone else here on the draft. And I guess you really do that more just to be able to get a full draft grade, because if you miss out on a defense or a kicker, man, talk about a brutal draft summary. And we are the last pick here too, so we know that as long as Luke McCaffrey doesn't essentially get drafted, that's someone here on our kickers that we of course will grab. Got auto draft coming up here, so we'll see who gets taken. Take off Alexander Madison. Actually, this is actually going to be tough because I may end up dropping Justice Hill to pick up Luke McCaffrey and just sticking with my running back champions. You can't necessarily go into the fact knowing that these guys are going to be playing hurt or will possibly be hurt. So you have to go in knowing or thinking that Derrick Henry is going to be Derrick Henry and just smash this year. So to me, I'll more than likely pick up the kicker in either Young Ho or Cameron Dicker. If both of them were gone, Jake Bates is honestly in consideration. Plays in a dome. Jason Sanders goes right there. Gonna go with the Young Ho. It's Young. Well, I know people say Young Hui, but that's Young Ho, bro. And man, really appreciate you following along in this real Yahoo draft. I was able to hop in. Not a lot of stakes in this one. $10, I think, rather than some of the other like free ones here. But just wanted to come in and see. And honestly, this is how I attacked the 12 spot. I could have got Derrick Henry and essentially went with my wide receiver champion, which I was Cooper Cup had been going in the third round. Surprised he went here in the second, but looking at this, it would have been Drake London, Cooper Cup, or Devontae Adams essentially as that pick. And if we had that and had Cooper Cup and Malik Neighbors, possibly would have felt a little bit better about this draft, knowing that we'll get Zamir White later on to fill that RB2 role. But in this 12 spot, just way difficult to navigate, and wanted to see which value could possibly fall to us. Nico Collins was that value. To me, that one was a tough choice because he's not necessarily high up on my wide receiver depth chart. Honestly, Rashee Rice was kind of in consideration right there over Devontae Smith, over DK Metcalf, having Patrick Mahomes throwing to him. Was just thinking maybe he could possibly be there at the beginning or at the end of the fifth. He actually goes there middle of the fourth. So Mike's grand team, I mean, grabbing Cooper Cup early, Rashee Rice a little bit early. Those are kind of the main two picks that he sniped and was able to get, kind of great value on. So we missed out. Like I said, guys, right here, man, bummed to miss out on that Jake Ferguson pick because, like I said, Brian Thomas or Christian Kirk were in consideration. Heck, Roma Dunze kind of was in there as well, just being that other great wide receiver He is the wide receiver 3, which is why I thought about Brian Thomas Jr. But we'll check out this roster real quick and get you guys out of here. So coming to the team, we waited on quarterback, but did of course pick up Caleb Williams as with Jaden Daniels going before us. Uh, our first two picks, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, actually did my Megalo Bowl draft, and in this same position actually went Derrick Henry, Isaiah Pacheco over Saquon Barkley. Started that and ended up going Malik Neighbors with that wide receiver as well. So a very similar start that I was able to pull off here. Malik Neighbors does have Daniel Jones throwing to him. However, you're hoping that with Brian Daboll fighting for his job and taking over that play calling, he's just going to want to put it in his hands. Here, we're essentially hoping that Nico Collins is the one out of those three. We almost picked up Tank Dell as well. But just to have those two Houston wide receivers. But then, as you can see, that week 14 bye and then that Derrick Henry week 14 bye, that would have been three positions we would have had to try to fill out there, which would have been tough, which I know in redraft, you can't necessarily have that be a factor, as you're going to have guys that you can pick up off the wire and plug in. You can trade for guys. However, with that kind of tilted us, and I think we ended up going Dalton Kincaid essentially instead of locking up, say, that Tank Dell or that Terry McLaurin in that third wide receiver position. So with us doing it, going down, Caleb Williams, quarterback, Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Xavier Worthy, wide receiver, running backs, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Dalton Kincaid as a tight end. In our flex spots, we have Zamir White right there. Like I said, this was the one goof gaff where we ended up going auto drafting Jake Ferguson because I did have him queued up and essentially forgot to move my rankings because right there would have been either Christian Kirk or Brian Thomas Jr. instead of Jake Ferguson. We do have Jake Ferguson there, but now we have that position locked up with them having two different buys. On our bench, Keon Coleman, Jared Goff to help just back up Caleb Williams, as I think Jared Goff is going to be safe and solid this year. Jalen Wright, should anything happen to Raheem Mostert or Devon Achane, he is going to have a role and step in as the exciting rookie with blazing 4.3 speed too, I believe. Adam Thielen is a starter in Carolina. We'll have that veteran role opposite of Deontay Johnson. Darnell Mooney, opposite starter there with Kirk Cousins and Drake London. And then we ended up going Justice Hill here to back up Derrick Henry. More than likely, though, in my waiver wire, I'm probably going to drop Justice Hill right here and pick up, say, Luke McCaffrey. Is just that exciting, another exciting rookie wide receiver that could possibly provide some value, especially, like I mentioned, with Matthew Berry saying he could have that Tank Dell just value surrounding him like Tank Dell had last year. So really appreciate you following along, guys. This is a redraft that I will be managing. And hopefully everyone stays healthy. Hopefully we got the right guys so we don't have to fight a lot on the waiver wire. But appreciate you following along. You guys take care drafting along today. And we'll see you guys again next time. Take care, guys. Bye.